Good day. I'm Wade Fox. I'm the host of Second Opinion. I want to welcome you to this session. It's going to be a very unusual session because it's very focused on a certain state committee that we've got. And I would like to introduce you to our guest today. On my immediate left is Georjann McGaha, who used to be from Westford but is now from Lowell. And at the far left, which is hard for me to say sometimes, is Dennis Galvin, who is from Westford, and I think a well-known local politician. They are here today because of they're running for a thing called the Republican State Committee, and we're going to talk about that. And I think it's important for our viewers to realize that it is a very focused group, and hopefully it'll come out and you'll understand exactly why it's so important. I'm going to start with Dennis on this. Dennis, can you tell us about what the State Committee is and a little bit about who's eligible to vote and so forth, why it's so unique?
Sure, Wade. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on the program. Well, the Republican State Committee is the governing board of the Massachusetts State Republican Party. And it's an important position because what it does is it sets the policy, the strategy, and the direction of the party for the next 4 years. Now, the election for the party, for the committee, it's a governing board of about 80 members, 50% of men or 50% of women. That's an old tradition, goes back to the suffrage days. And they're elected based upon each of the senatorial districts in the state, which are about 40 of them. I'm running in the first Middlesex district. So the people who are eligible to vote are any Republican voters, anybody registered Republican as of, I believe, within 60 to 90 days of the election, and any unenrolled voter that decides to vote in the Republican primary can also cast a ballot in this election. So you know, those are the folks who are eligible, and that's what the purpose of the election is. It's not very well known, but it's a very critical position.
Georjann, to follow up on something that Dennis talked about, Dennis, I think people in Westford realize that we have a certain district, but this is a senatorial. So exactly who's in this district that you're running for? Okay. What towns and so forth?
Well, the first Middlesex senatorial district consists of Lowell, Tyngsboro, Dunstable, Pepperell, Groton, and Westford. Okay.
So, and this is going to be the Republicans that will go in to vote, I guess, during the presidential primary. We'll see a list of candidates there for the state committee, and you'll be able to vote for those people, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Since it's a very focused group in the Republicans, why do you want to run for the committee now? What is it that's driving you to put your name in the hat, so to speak?
Well, I just want to mention it is on March 1st, and I ran 4 years ago for this same position. One of the reasons I'm running is because the main purpose of the state committee is to promote and elect Republicans in this state. And so that's exactly what I have a passion to do. That's what I've been doing for the last 10 years. So I really do enjoy making phone calls for candidates. I was Dennis Galvin's phone chairman when he ran for state representative. And then poll watching is another thing I did, and I did that for Keiko Oro. And then we have standouts, and I was standout chairman for Val Warmel when she ran for state rep, and and then collecting signatures, and you'll see people at Market Basket, and that's who I was, getting signatures of people to put people on the ballot, and also writing letters to the editor, as well as doing literature drops, going door to door.
So Dennis, I mean, it sounds like an awful lot of
work.
Well,
first of all,
why would you want to
let me just
get
pay
involved
deference to this lady over here. This is one of the hardest working Republicans I've ever met in my life, and one of the most dedicated. So, well, the reason that I've decided to run for this position is because I think it's obvious to all of us that we're facing some serious threats to our security, our prosperity, and our freedom. And we're going to need competent and courageous leadership to really meet the challenges that we're facing. And as I said, the Republican State Committee is the governing board of the Republican Party. It's responsible for developing this type of leadership. It's been in failure mode for the past 40 years. Just look at the size of the delegation in the Massachusetts legislature. It's to the point now where we can't even call for a roll call on the vote on a bill coming through the legislature. And because it's been in that, it's basically our budget, state budget has swollen. Serious services like the MBTA have collapsed, and serious threats to our homeland security are basically being ignored. I think it's time for the committee to move this party forward, because I think the people of Massachusetts need a serious alternative to a Beacon Hill power structure that's basically slid into the abyss of one-party rule. It's time to change that.
Well, since you talked about those issues, Georjann, are there any other issues that you think are really hot on this that people should really care about? And I'm not underplaying this, but a lot of people out there are going to be saying, well, we elect state legislatures and we elect state senators. What does this group do? So what issues do you see that you can have an impact on?
Well, one of the reasons I want to run is I think it's very important to, well, besides electing candidates.
Besides electing candidates, I mean, do you guys make policy or something like that? Do you I want to say, are you the Republican heart and soul of the platform?
Well, that's kind of that's one of the reasons I wanted to be on it, because I think we need to recommit to the original Republican core values, and that would include, as Dennis alluded to, it would include strong national defense, limited government, fiscal responsibility, which means balancing our budget, and also, if you look at I have a Liberty Bell. One of the very first Republican core values is freedom and individual liberty. As you know, Democrats are more and more being the party of government controlling people's lives, and we're for freedom. And then you see I have a flag here, and I love the I love the USA. So I just want to make sure that all those conservative values stay in the Massachusetts Republican Party, and I've been very pleased this past year. I go to the meetings, I sit in the back and see what's going on, and we were able to keep some of those core values this year in the platform.
Okay, well, good. Dennis, let me hop back over to how you see this working. Since you've actually run for public office, and you actually hold a public office, how do you see this, let's say, advisory committee working with the state legislature and the people that are in the state legislature?
Well, Civics 101 tells you that our system of government is supposed to work on a process of checks and balances. I'm stating that the checks and balance system here in Massachusetts is way off. It's gone. So as a result of that, there is no check on government abuse. For example, the line between haves and have-nots in Massachusetts is very well defined, all right? The haves are all those people who basically benefit off the waste and fraud in our state government, and the have-nots are all of those folks out there that have to pay for it, all right? I want to see the Republican Party, and the reason I'm getting into this is the Republican Party needs to basically become the advocate of all those who are suffering from a corrupt, patronage-ridden one-party system. I want to see the party, anybody that's been impacted by the poor economy, by high taxes, by poor MBTA service, by high tuition and tuitions in our state universities and colleges, by poor substandard educational processes in our schools, reckless public safety and immigration policies, and attacks against First Amendment rights. Anybody that feels as though that they've been victimized by that, they should see the Republican Party as their advocate. And we also have to throw in defending our cities and towns from unfunded state mandates. That's why I want to get into this. I want to make this party a meaningful organization that advocates for those interests.
Okay. Jan, do you have anything you want to add? Or?
Yes. To do what he said, we've got to build the Massachusetts Republican Party up. And that's what we need. Right now, it's kind of a top-down organization. And what we need to do is get the grassroots to swell up. So one of the things that I want to do is help develop the town committees and the city committees. So for instance, in Lowell there's 11 wards, but we only have 6 that are organized with Republican city ward committees. And so we need to get the more grassroots people we get involved, then the more, and each one of you can make a difference. And so that's why it's so important to get them in there and get busy to elect people, because this is our country, and as Dennis said, this is our state, and if we don't get involved and elect good people, then it's going to go downhill even faster. We only have 11% of registered Republicans. We need more than that. The unenrolleds are important. Yes, they can vote for us, but we need more. We need to build up.
So let me just side note there. When we go into the ballot box in this next election, can independents vote for you?
Unenrolled voters can.
Unenrolled voters.
If you're a member of the independent party, you can't.
I'm sorry. Unenrolled voters can vote.
Unenrolled voters can vote for us. Yes.
Okay. So as we've seen the committee go through changes, all the way back to the Scott Brown days and through our governor's days and so forth, and the last convention and so forth. Sometimes there's highlights and sometimes there's lowlights about how this process works. What do you see as changes that you'd like to make after you get into the committee? And I thought I would ask this question: How many seats are up for election out of the 80?
All of them.
So 80. So it's possible that you could have a whole brand new group this time. So what changes do you think you can impact, and how would you work with, let's say, potentially a group that's got a lot of new people in it? I'm going to start off with Jan, and then we'll go to Georjann. Excuse me.
Yes. Well, that's the exciting thing, that we're going to be able to get, hopefully, those conservative Republicans on the committee that will go for making this state a better state. And so I'm really looking forward to it. We have a lot of good people running, and I hope everybody out there will look them up on their websites and on Facebook and see what they're doing for our state and get involved.
Dennis?
Well, the first thing that has to happen is the Republican State Committee has to exert responsible leadership. That means that all the factionalism and the personal vendettas have to end. Mm-hmm. Then what happens is the committee must focus the party on its primary mission, which is to provide rigorous oversight over state government programs and services to ensure effectiveness, accountability, and efficiency. And in addition, to offer solutions to the problems we face that minimize the impact on the average taxpayer and facilitate economic growth, which, if you really look at the issues, is the answer to most of our problems. Now, we have to be able to defend and protect and support the governor in his efforts to try to reform state government. And but as a group, you know, we've come in this state for many years. There's been one way of thinking, one way of doing things. As Republicans, we must become much more articulate in stating our positions. We have to become persistent in our fundraising, and we must become extremely relentless in registering new voters, and unified in one thing, and that's to win the hearts and minds of the citizens of this Commonwealth. I think the people are looking for this, and I think it's time for the leadership of this party, which is the state committee, to deliver the goods.
Okay. Well, if one of the things we've talked about, besides all the stuff that you have brought up, is that as I understand, the state committee is very important in the picking of delegates for the national convention, which maybe in some cases would not be so important, but it looks like in this year it's going to be very, very important. How do you see yourself working with people about, if it comes to that, when you're having to figure out who we send to the national convention? Or maybe you can tell me a little bit about how that committee works first and then how you would change it. I'll start with Georjann.
Well, I think it's very important. What they do is all the Republican town committees, if they want to have the caucus in their district, they will find a place that can hold 300 people. They will, and it's kind of inexpensive, and then they will go to the state committee and say, we would like this to be in our town. And then people that want to go, I love it being in the state. We don't have to have it, we have a caucus so that every individual can apply and give a speech and go. But you can only do it if you have if they win 5%. If the presidential candidate wins 5% of the vote, then they can go.
Okay, Dennis?
Well, first issue is fairness. Fairness in the process, fairness in selecting people. Having gone through the process myself once, and I know that Jan has been through it, and having been a delegate to the National Committee, the most important thing is that the process is fair. I thought the process that we went through was very fair. We brought our folks in and we competed at the caucus, and we were able to prevail and get the appointment to go. But the thing is, in Massachusetts, the Republican Party in particular, I think probably the Democrats are the same thing, when it comes to conventions and it comes to caucuses, oftentimes the pressure of the individual political interests will override concerns about fairness of the system. And that's going to require some very strong people to be able to stand up and say, this is the way we agreed and this is the way we're going to do it, so that everybody in the process gets a fair shake. And that has not always been the case. We came out of a convention, for example, last year that was very controversial. And there was a lot of controversy about how the delegates, whether this caucus system was going to be actually allowed to continue in this process here. And I just want to say that from my perspective, I am committed and dedicated to ensuring that the average grassroots Republican has an opportunity, he or she, to come in and affect and influence and participate with this party. That is the most important issue we have facing us as a state committee.
Dennis, you make a good point. I want to ask both of you this, is that we're in what's reportedly said, and probably rightfully so, that we're in the bluest of blue states here. And the question is, no dispersions on our system here, but if you're a Republican in a bluest of blue states that's heavily weighted to all the representatives are Democratic, you often wonder whether your voice, your values and so forth are ever seen at the Beacon Hill level. Do you see the committee taking a more active role going forward? Is that what you think they should do? Or do you think that we should just rally around the governor and try to just elect people and slowly work your way through this process? Because we're talking about trying to build a party, at the same time we have to have a platform that people can run on. So sometimes those things come into conflict. Do you have any feelings about that?
Well, yes, I have very strong feelings about it.
I'll start with you first.
Well, I'm born and raised in Massachusetts all my life. My family was all Democrat. I was raised in a Democratic community. I think when I grew up, I maybe knew one or two Republicans. That was about it. As I got older and I started to, I tried to keep myself informed, I came to the conclusion that there was a lot of information that was being put out that my opinion was not correct. And I did my own research, and I came to the conclusion that I had a difference of opinion from a lot of the folks, including my mother and my father, about the way that they looked at things. So I have a really first-hand look at where the problem is. And part of the problem is that the Republican State Committee and the Republican Party has not strongly articulated their position. All right? They have kept quiet. And I would like to share one story with you, if I could, that kind of, if you don't mind, that explains this whole thing. When I ran in 2004, I went in to meet with some of the leadership at the House of Representatives, Republican leadership. And as I left the meeting, I was buttonholed by a leader of the party who has since now left, who asked me, why do I want to do this? And I says, what do you mean, why do I want to do this? He says, we have relationships up here. We have relationships, and you coming in here could upset those relationships. And I was absolutely befuddled by that. I said, there's the problem. There's the problem. Someone has to keep the active purpose of what the party is supposed to be alive. And some of the folks who actually get into the fray, when they face that heavy pressure and that heavy influence of the opposition will go along to get along. Somebody's got to be there to say, no, you're not going to do that, all right?
Okay.
There's a higher issue here.
Okay. Jan, why don't you, if you can, follow up on what Dennis said, but I understand that, you know, you're very big in the Republican women's organization in the state. I mean, how do you see this, this paradox of trying to get people elected versus trying to maintain a core value, if I can use that phrase, of republicanism in this state?
I think the stronger we are on the Republican values, the more people we get elected. On the state committee, the more each year, each election, we get more and more conservative Republicans on the committee. And that's so important because what Dennis was talking about, it's happening nationally when they call it the Washington cartel, and then standing firm for what we believe in. So I think it's very, very important that we keep strong Republican values.
Okay.
And we have to have a difference. And someone told me, they said, well, you know, the Republican Party is even more liberal than the Democrat Party in Louisiana. And so I want to change that. I want to say, hey, we are the Republicans.
Okay. Can I add something
Sure.
to that? The other thing that's important, and I just want to say this for the viewers, for other people, particularly Massachusetts folks who've been, you know, watched the national news, don't suppose that the Massachusetts Republican Party is a cookie cutter of what you see in other parts of the state. Each state committee and each Republican organization in each state is different, and it should reflect the values and the concerns of the state that it's in. And I issued some concerns. In Massachusetts, the Republican Party should strongly be an advocate for expanding economic growth. It should be strong in its oversight of our state government. And let's start off with the MBTA. First of all, you're paying a tremendous amount of money. That particular agency supports 50% of the people in this state, in the greater Boston area, going back and forth to work. It failed last year, and right now it has moments where you wonder if it's going to work or not. It begs the question, you, the taxpayer, who do you actually work for? Or who works for you? Are you working, is the MBTA working for you, or are you working for the MBTA? And that can be expanded to include all of state government. Those are the questions that we're going to use to try to raise awareness of the fact that there needs to be another party in this state that offers an alternative to what you get right now.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. I appreciate that. We're winding down here, but I wanted to ask a real quick question on the process that you guys are going through now. I know that you've been endorsed by the Westwood Republican Town Committee already. And do you now go to the other committees or the state, or the city precincts, or how does this work?
Well, we have to, we have to go, as Jan knows, we have to go to each of the towns in the district, and we have to try to develop support, and hopefully we'll get that support and the endorsements and bring them to the polls on March 1st, 2016. So don't forget that. So when you're coming to pull your ballot for one of the Republican presidential candidates, you know, don't stop at the end of the list. Keep going down, because there'll be the state committee race, and then there'll be the town committees, town committee selections. And those are very important positions. Those are very important positions because they will set the tone for what goes on in your backyard for the next 4 years.
And so, Jan, what will be your program for the next, I guess, what, 35 days, or whatever it is?
Yeah, 50,
Well,
I think, right?
well, you were asking about the endorsements. I think not only have I been going to the town committees and telling them what I want to do, but also it's the organizations I've been involved in. So I've been vice president and president of the Middlesex Republican Women, and so I know a lot of women throughout the whole state that would endorse me. And then I've also been vice president and president of Massachusetts Republican Assemblies, and that's the organization that is called the Republican Organization of the Republicans. And President Reagan joined that organization and promoted it, and so I have them. They are backing me as well, which I'm very pleased. And so that's part of the process.
Okay, well, good. We've got just about 2 or 3 minutes left. You want to take a few seconds or so to kind of wrap up why you want to do this job?
I mean, I just quickly say that I've been committed to the Republican Party for 35 years. I've been a member of the Western Republican Town Committee. I currently hold the office of Planning Board Chair, and I've been the member for 3 years. I have also ran for office twice in I think very close races, representing the state representative position, trying to get that. I've learned a lot from that. I'd like to share that with other folks who intend to run. As far as professional background, I'm a 30-year member of the Massachusetts State Police, retired as a major, former director of security for the Executive Office of Transportation. I worked as a director of security of the project manager for the Seabrook Nuclear Power Plant, providing their security for them. And I've taught, and I have been involved in the community for all these years, and I'd like to use this experience to try to help broaden the perspective on what we can do to solve our problems.
Okay.
And I'm coming from a background of, grew up in a military family. My dad was a U.S. Air Force pilot. For 20 years we moved very often, so I kind of have a feel of the whole United States, and I have a passion. I'm very patriotic. I love the United States, and I love the U.S. Constitution. My brother was also in the U.S. Navy, and when I got married, then I was a school teacher, so I started out preschool, kindergarten, and then elementary school for 10 years, and so I'm really committed to education. I helped get signatures for the Common Core, and so we can have it on the ballot, so that's something that you will also be able to vote on. And anyway, that's kind of where I'm from.
Okay, well, good. Well, listen, I want to thank you both for coming on today. It's, like I said, it's somewhat of a unique group because it's really focused in on Republicans. But for all you Democrats that have been watching, I hope you've learned something, and we'll go quickly change your registration. But
I can only hope.
We want to thank you, and just remember, as I always say, if you're confused or concerned about the opinions, always get a second opinion.